another Boeing whistleblower. This one has not yet committed suicide. His name is Ed Pearson. The one that committed suicide, that was, yesterday or the day before, the Boeing whistleblower. So Ed is still alive. He testified before Congress 4 years ago in 2019. And he recently told CNN that he refused to fly on a plane he'd boarded after realizing it was a Boeing 737 MAX. He told CNN that Ed, had deliberately made sure that the plane was not a Boeing 737 MAX before booking the flight. Now, this guy spent 10 years at Boeing and testified in Congress in 2019 about the Boeing factory in Renton, Washington, near Seattle. He said he was meant to take a domestic flight last year, but ended up getting off the plane just before takeoff, just as when the flight attendants was shutting the door, when he realized what he was on. Now, this guy is a former senior manager at Boeing, and he said he was set to fly from Seattle to New Jersey with Alaska Airlines. And he said he made sure to select a flight that was not going to use a Boeing 737 MAX. This is what he said, quote, "I walked onto the plane, and when I got on, I thought, hey, it's kind of new. And then I sat down, and on the emergency card, it said it was a MAX," end quote. So he quickly got off the plane just as the flight attendant was closing the front door. He then told CNN he managed to book an Alaska red-eye flight leaving that evening that was not on a Boeing 737 MAX. He said he had to spend the entire day at the airport, but it was worth it. I mean, this is really some important and frightening stuff from Boeing engineers. This guy, like I said, he's still alive. He hasn't committed suicide yet. Maybe he'll commit suicide next week. But as of right now, this moment, he's still alive. CNN got in touch with Alaska Airlines for comment, and they didn't immediately respond about the apparent last-minute change of this man's flight. And, of course, Boeing, they don't say shit. They're under investigation by the Justice Department. You know, you talk about turning over a rock and finding all kinds of crawly things go skittering off into the shadows. I have a feeling that the Boeing company is about to be exposed as a corporation doesn't give a shit, not that any of them do, but doesn't give a shit about their passengers, to the extent that they make sure the safety checks and the maintenance, or whatever it's called, is done properly. Mr. Pierson, Ed Pearson, the whistleblower, the Boeing whistleblower, who has not committed suicide yet, he previously told the LA Times that he would, quote, absolutely not, end quote, fly on a 737 MAX because of what he knows about the safety or lack thereof at the Boeing aircraft plant. Now, he worked at Boeing from 2008 to 2018. He said that during that time at Boeing's factory in Renton, Washington, he witnessed overworked employees, parts shortages, quality issues, which he said made the planes produced by the factory, his word, unsafe. He said that he recommended to the company's leadership that it close down production at the factory and reapplied or reinstituted some of the safety concerns, but Boeing ignored his request. Boeing ignored his requests. I mean, this guy was a senior manager at Boeing. Not somebody on the shop floor. Not that that worker is any less important, but to corporate America, hell yeah, somebody working on the floor swinging a wrench and says, hey, listen, you're having us put these planes together without putting parts in that need to be there, like what happened to the huge section of the Boeing plane that blew off left a gaping hole at 16,000 feet, you know, that kind of stuff. When a senior manager says something like that to Boeing, you would think, wouldn't you? I mean, oh, come on, Malloy, you're being very naive. I almost said you would think that the executives at the plant would take notice of what was said. And if you would think that, you would obviously be 100% wrong. He testified to Congress in 2019 about production in the factory. It was shortly after those two MAX 8 crashes, one in October 2018, another one in March 2019, that killed, between the two crashes, 350 people, including all the passengers and crew on board. And if they were true to form, Boeing issued a public statement. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the people dead and all their families and all their friends and all their children and all their grandmas and everybody who was on the flight crew and on and on. We really, really grieve with you. Chuckle, chuckle. Son of a bitch. Well, Ed Pearson has not committed suicide yet, so maybe he will be called to further testify. If I were Mr. Ed Pearson, though, I think what I would do if I owned handguns or even rifles, I would probably find a rather large safety deposit box in the nearest bank and put all of my weapons under lock and key so that I wouldn't be tempted to, off myself. Corporate America. I know I don't get into my anti-capitalist rants too often. Maybe I should. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. The Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.